My colleague Gaurav Arya is now joining us. Major Gaurav Arya with us to try and explain not just the historical perspective but also deeply in militaristic terms exactly what has transpired between India and China. Gaurav, thanks a lot for joining us. Welcome on the show.
Thank you, Shivani. Thank you very much, Shivani. Shivani, as discussed, we'll try and take our viewers through the history of the line of actual control. Yes. So we'll try and take our viewers through the history of the line of actual control. And there are many confusions here. People tend to generally compare it to the line of control with Pakistan. Now, this is totally different. For example, the line of control is clearly and unequivocally demarcated. We know where every stone, every tree, every inch of ground is. There is a fencing, there are patrols, and there are ambushes every single day. This is the line of control with Pakistan. Now, this place that you're seeing on the map, it shows Galwan Valley, etc. This entire stretch along with China is almost 3,500 kilometers, and this is called the line of actual control. This was never demarcated, in spite of many attempts by India to speak to China and say, let's sit down on a map, let's figure out what is your territory, what is ours, and let us clearly demarcate. So there are no annual incursions from your side into our land. China has always refused to sit down on the table and negotiate and close this simmering issue, which is why you have what you have here. Now, there are three things, Shivani, that we should all be aware of. First of all, the incursions of China into our territory because of the line of control being perceptional. This we've repeated many a time. I'm going to take you through it again and take our viewers through it again. There is a perceptional line of actual control, which means that there is a border that we think is India, and there is a border that China thinks is Chinese. Now, between the borders, there is obviously land which is disputed. So this is where everything starts. So China comes in annually. Last year they were there, and again this year they have come back. In between, there were some Indian patrols which went to China. This was an annual feature. We go there, they come here. It is only this time that it's gotten so violent that people have died on both sides. According to American intelligence reports, we've killed 35 Chinese soldiers. Our estimates say 43, and we have lost 20 brave hearts. Now, if you talk about the Galwan Valley and why is the Galwan Valley important, let me just tell you, first of all, there was this entire thing about China making a huge hue and cry about this Darbuk, Shyok and DBO, which is Daulat Beg Oldi, this road which we built, which is around 255 kilometers long. And the sanctity of this road, or I should say the importance of this road essentially is that it reduces time from Leh to DBO, which at one point in time, good old days, 60s and 70s, would take several weeks. Now it takes 6 hours flat. Now this has spooked China no end. It has spooked China. Now, as far as Galwan is concerned, the Galwan Ridge or the Galwan Valley, there are parallels to be drawn with Kargil, not just because of the incursion, but a larger parallel that the Galwan Ridge overlooks this road to Daulat Beg Oldi. It overlooks that road. So in the army, we say when you through observation and through fire, there are two ways that you dominate a certain area, by observation and by fire. China would be able to do that. They would be able to cut off this road. And why is this important? And this is important because, you see, apart from this 255-kilometer road, they say that the ridgeline of the Galwan Valley gives a strategic fillip over the road. The valley is also an important connecting tissue with Chinese-controlled Aksai Chin, which was Indian territory, by the way, but now Chinese-controlled. We all know the history of this. And China fears that India converging into Aksai Chin Plateau, which houses the crucial Xinjiang-Tibet highway pass. Now, I'm reading out of something that is written here, but overall, we must understand that the border is actually, if India actually looks at it historically, the border, Shivani, is not with China. The border is with Tibet. Tibet was an independent country that was annexed by China. So we must understand the entire border here is with Tibet, not what was traditionally China. Shivani, you had a few questions before we go to our guests. Please feel free.
Yes. Gaurav, you've detailed the brief history between India and China, and obviously how there is no denying that we have been forced, even though we have tried to forge a very friendly relationship economically and otherwise, but there's no denying that when you look at India-China history, China considers us an enemy, at least a foe, because we are a big counter China power as far as the subcontinent is concerned, and of course China being China does not like any other, would not like India in its close vicinity to be as powerful as it is. Now you've explained the history, you've explained the importance of Galwan Valley. Very quickly before I come to what really happened in the early weeks of May, Gaurav, I want you to explain to us the terrain as well. The inhospitable climate and terrain in which Indian soldiers guard the eastern LAC in Ladakh.
So, Shivani, in most of the places, and you can see those images on the TV screen, in most of the places not a blade of grass grows. There are no animals except for mountain goats and an occasional snow leopard. There is nothing to be seen. It's a very beautiful place, but at the end of it, it is a dry, frozen, cold desert. That is what it is. Now, the importance is strategic, and the importance is also at a lower level, tactical, which is why this entire thing is happening now. There are various reasons for the Chinese to have behaved as they have done. However, the Chinese feel that controlling Galwan, the Galwan Heights, the Galwan Ridge, or the Galwan Valley is something that gives them that leverage because of the neighboring Aksya Chin. That is one. Number two, also, that here nothing grows. So if somebody is looking for fertile lands, if somebody is looking, you might see a river here in the video, but nothing grows. You also see the surrounding. There is not a blade of grass. Maybe a small little patch here and there. Nothing grows here. So this is strategic in nature. Shivani, why this has happened? It's a beautiful land, but desolate. Absolutely desolate.
All right. Let's come to what exactly then happened in May. I want you to explain to our viewers, Gaurav, why is it that the Chinese behave the way they did suddenly so much? What are you learning? And also, the big question on everybody's mind is that how were the Chinese able to incur into Indian land and build those posts that have now come up so close to PP14 in Galwan Valley? There used to be a slight area, Gaurav, as you mentioned, which is disputed. You could call it the buffer zone, you could call it the no man's land, and there was patrolling that used to happen there. But there were no camps that China had earlier. So the big question is, how did those camps come up? How do you see the strategy on the Chinese side?
So, Shivani, this is neither the buffer zone nor the no man's land. This is actually Indian territory. Now, we must understand this is claimed Indian territory, and we have requested the Chinese many times to come on the table.
The posts used to be a little point away. Now what they've done is they've come a little bit ahead and tried to take what was considered, what India looked at as Indian land.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Shivani, you're very right. They have, they have come inside our territory, and the reason why they do it is that, we've always had this with the Chinese. No bullet has been fired for a very, very long time, for decades. There has been no war. There has been nothing, and it has always been peaceful. And if worse comes to worse, there's been a little bit of punching, kicking, pushing each other around. And then there was a mechanism in place by which, both the armies would sit down at the colonel level or the brigadier level, at the company commander level, sort it out, move back. Now, this year, because of various other issues that China has to sort of face internationally, China has taken this provocative posture. And Shivani, this is not just here in Ladakh. You see what the Chinese are doing in Hong Kong, right? And you see what the Chinese are threatening Taiwan with. So China is flexing its muscles everywhere. Three reasons. Number one, a direct threat to Xi Jinping's rule. He was the absolute, if I may use the word, emperor of China and the most powerful Chinese ruler after Mao Zedong. But now what has happened is that after the coronavirus debacle in China and after the world has started actually pointing fingers, even benign European countries which never had an opinion on anything whatsoever of importance are now starting to say that we need these many dollars in reparations, and we are talking about filing criminal charges against China in the International Court of Justice. Now, this has China spooked. This is pretty much for the domestic audience. A, power play within the Chinese Communist Party, and B, how China is surrounded everywhere. The Quad has surprised China very badly. And number four, India's infrastructure build-up, which in the past 5 to 7 years has been phenomenal. This building of, this area had been neglected for almost like 60, 65 years. There was nothing in this area. Today, Infrastructure is moving at a breakneck speed. They're building bridges on the Shyok River, at least one major bridge on the Shyok River and a few minor culverts and bridges everywhere, because there are a lot of nalas, if I may use that word, and also a road which is 255 kilometers long. This has rattled China. So this is the reason why China is doing it. And China feels it can do it because China tried last year. China tried last year and we pushed China back. Now what is happening is that China probes. Every year China will probe. This is an annual event. Let us understand that. This is an annual event. China will come in and try to probe. Now, if you stare China down, China behaves itself. This is China probing India. So they put men there. They suffer a few casualties. We suffer a few casualties. If we back down, heaven forbid, it will not happen. But if we back down today, they will come in 5 kilometers inside India again. This is not about giving China the territory that they want. Please understand, China covets entire Ladakh. China covets the entire Arunachal Pradesh. So if India thinks, or anybody in India thinks, that you can buy peace with China by giving them 50, 60 square kilometers of territory and then China is going to be quiet for the next 100 years, sorry, that's not going to happen. Shivani.
Right. All right. You very rightly said that this is an annual event, but no pun intended, Gaurav, it certainly has crossed a line this time. 20 of our brave hearts have lost their lives. They have been martyred in that very violent, unprovoked attack on the Indian forces when they were only wanting to honor the June 6th agreement. So that brings me to how India and China, Gaurav, you know, sat on the table multiple times at various levels and eked out a June 6th agreement. What was that agreement? Explain to our viewers, not just in letter, but also the spirit of that agreement, Gaurav.
Shivani, essentially, it was, if I may call it, the de-escalation matrix. And if Chinese had followed this treaty in letter and spirit, there would be no blood spilled. What happened was that in this agreement, China agreed to move back 5 odd kilometers. 5 kilometers means it was been almost status quo. There would have been no dispute. And also the shifting of armor and artillery, etc., etc. But essentially, it was about moving 5 kilometers back. Now, what happened was that when last night and day before intervening, 16 Bihar, CO16 Bihar, who, God bless him, he's no more with us and he's a martyr. When he went with his boys to enforce that, and when I use the word enforce, they went unarmed. So there was no intent of sort of provoking violence with the Chinese. They went there, and after going there inside, they said that you agreed to this treaty, you signed off here. Now please honor your own word and go back. And that is when the Chinese got violent, and the Chinese were carrying baseball bats with barbed wires wrapped, and they were carrying iron spike rods, etc. The Chinese had come prepared for violence, Shivani. They had come prepared for violence. They had no intention of honoring their treaty, which their own generals or their senior officers had signed. They had no this thing. So China speaks with a forked tongue. The PLA will do something else. The Ministry of External Affairs will China say something else. Their ambassador in Delhi will make an entirely unrelated, a third issue out of thin air to keep everybody confused. This is how China works, and this is exactly what they did. About the treaty, China was supposed to move back 5 kilometers. It did not, and now China will have to be forcefully evicted from there, Shivani.
Absolutely. So in many ways, China has betrayed the trust that India placed in it. But I think what has become very clear, and perhaps the establishment already has known, that you have to watch your back as far as China is concerned. For the precise reasons that Gaurav has entailed, it has never been really a trustworthy neighbor or a friend completely. India has to always watch itself when it comes to China. And that is the same commitment that has been now reaffirmed by the Prime Minister himself. He came out saluting the bravery of our Indian martyrs and also going on to a vow that there's going to be avenging of their martyrdom, and also a message to China that regardless of the tactics that they may employ, as far as territorial integrity and sovereignty is concerned, there will be no compromise. We are all waiting with bated breath to see more and hear more from the Indian government of what is going to be done. Remember, in the past, government has responded very appropriately, but it always is at a time of our choosing. Gaurav, thanks a lot for joining us. We play out the speech that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made saluting the brave hearts of Ladakh.